Hi Jennifer, how you doing? I'd like to take a look at your work. I think you're really starting a really nice thing. Now, what I've done here is I've opened up your work in your PDF, but I've opened up the pages too, so we can see the whole thing as one package. And I think by looking at the whole thing as one package, it helps us to identify the success or their lack of creating this kind of cohesion, this kind of continuation, logical continuation from the cover through to the contents page and of course the feature spread. So I think that you've done that here, and I've got my notes here that I made for your thing. So I'll be referring to these. So if I keep looking down or over here, that's why I have your notes there. So the first thing I want to mention is that you have good continuation, as we can see through the three pages. You can tell that they've been designed by the same person at the same time, I guess is a good way to look at it. The thing I think that you're doing though is I think that you're using color instead of type. So that's where I think that and it's easy to do because look, when we start magazine design, the designer in us takes over. So what we want to do is kind of think about being the typographer first and the designer second. So what I want you to do is think about this. Let's look at the cover. I think this is good. This is showing this kind of handmade type thing, but this is too digital. This is such a digital presentation right here, the me. I'm not saying it's the wrong typeface. I'm just saying that you're really starting some expressive type here, and you're really starting to push this handmade thing. Okay, wasn't this on a solid background? I think it was, and I think that screening it back like this is a mistake. I really do. I think if you're screening it back to try to fit the type in, the text in that image, that's a mistake, I think. I think that the image is too prominent, and I think that you're designing around the image. In other words, I think you've picked the image that you want to use for the cover and designed your type around that. And again, that's one approach, but I think for typography, we should start making some typographic choices prior to image choices. So, for example, you've got some good you're showing a willingness to want to mix typefaces, which is good. Okay, and you're really handling each one of these little compositions exactly like a little composition. Okay. There's enough separation to realize that they don't all belong together. The thing is that, like, if we take a look at the typography that we've been learning so far, look at this leading right here. That's just enormous, and your kerning is really, really tight. I mean, those letters are right on top of each other, and with that geometric typeface, I think that's a mistake with them being so close. And then, like, for instance, here, look how far that is. That almost looks like a whole space. Okay, so you really got to pay attention to stuff like that. Don't use decorative typefaces. I think that's a bad idea on any this kind of decorative thing that you're using over and over. Here it is, here it is, here it is. So what you're doing here is you're kind of drawing all of these together and relating these all together by using the same typefaces when they really shouldn't be related. They're different articles in the same magazine. That's all their relation is. So there's no reason to create a visual relationship with them. Let's move over to I think that image might be just too large. Also, finally, I think that if you were these boxes right here, I think that adding this box here is a mistake because I think that you've done it to improve the legibility of the type, and I don't think that that's a good way to go. I would rather see you work with the type to improve legibility than to change what is presented on. Do you see what I'm saying? Let's move to the contents page. Okay, here, I think here you've you've got some good hierarchy. I mean, some good separation going. We know that there's 4 separate articles here. My issue is that there's no hierarchy. I mean, which is the cover story here? Over here we say, okay, okay, let me see, which is the cover story? We don't know because there's no hierarchy. Okay, then we go over here and we still don't know what the cover story is because there's still no hierarchy. Now, I see that now once we get to the cover stories completely change your room for under $50. So there it is. There is that indicating hierarchy because it's listed first or because it's the first story in the magazine. I don't think that's enough. And then over here, you have, we don't, okay, completely change your room. That's all the way at the bottom. So that's at the bottom level of hierarchy on the cover. So there's no consistency in the presentation of hierarchy of this feature spread. Okay, let's move back to the spread. And I want to take a look at this. And if we look at this as a spread, there's a couple of things here that are going to be an issue. The center line would be right about here, which means that image is going to get cut right down the middle. And so with that type. I think, again, you've got 3 pages and you've used the image 3 times. It's, use something else. I mean, I think what you've done here is it's smart, really, really smart that you've chosen colors from the image for your headline. That's really, really, that's why this is looking so tight right here. But where it falls apart, I think, is over here. Here we have these gray boxes with the type in them again. Where's the continuity? I'm not seeing it. I'm seeing that you're putting stuff in boxes and hoping that that is enough to make this connection. While, what you're doing is you're basically mimicking the box from the masthead, which is again creating further confusion because is that screened out box part of the magazine publication, or is it part of this feature story? Do you see what I'm saying? It shouldn't be both, or it can't be both. That doesn't make sense. So okay, and over here, I think that there's just too much going on here. You're really wanting to push everything to the corners, and I'd like to see you use white space, take things out of boxes. I would like to see you create a story out of this and not a list. Okay, you've got type that is set in italic, and we've learned that that's not always the most legible thing, especially with more than a few sentences of type. So you don't want to do that. Like I said, no lists. Just get a continuous story. Don't need that background there. Okay. I want to show you one other thing here before we move on, and this is part of my notes that I had for you. And then this is this right here, and this is from thisdesigningmagazines.com. And I've used this magazine before, and I'll put this link into your response post. But this is a really good article for you to read, Magazine Spreads, Good and Bad Practices, and read through it, especially when you get down to here where how the eye follows the type through the page, and how that it can create comfort if it's done correctly, or how it can create a little bit of visual stress if it's not done correctly. Okay, so I think that you should really, really read that. I think that'll help quite a bit. Other than that, great job, and keep up, hang in there. You're doing an awesome job. Thanks.